I'm going to show you the 9 books that made me 7 figures on LinkedIn. Apart from, that's a lie. These books didn't make me my first million. Applying what they taught me did. Most people read, nod, and do nothing. Now, I never used to read, but there was a time during COVID when I was drinking loads, I shaved my head and I was like questioning life. And I was sat in the garden on my stepson's gaming chair reading a book. And my wife came over to me like, "What are you doing? You don't read?" And I told her I was reinventing myself, and she burst out laughing, simply because she thought I was joking. But I was deadly serious. And some of the words that I read that day changed my life forever. And the book I was reading was Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. And that's the only book out of all these 9 that I haven't been able to find. But here's a quote from it. "Most of what we react to isn't even worth a reaction." Because most people go through life like a dog chasing a laser pointer. They react to every email, every notification, every minor inconvenience like it's life or death. But Ryan Holiday is obsessed with Stoicism, some ancient Greek shit that's all about keeping control and not losing your head. And I'd never heard of it before, but apparently some of the biggest or the greatest people in history swear by it and live by it. Roman emperors, military leaders, even like modern day billionaires. And here I was, overthinking absolutely everything. You can't be successful if you intellectualize too much. The people who are successful know how to slow the down. And that quote, "Most of what we react to isn't even worth a reaction," hit me hard. Because when I really thought about it, most of my stress and my frustration came from shit that didn't even really matter. Mates who love drama and moaning, not hitting target at work, pissy little arguments with my wife. All of it's irrelevant. And I realized I had spent years, my whole life, giving away my energy to people, things, and problems that just weren't worth it. So I made a promise to myself that I was going to change. And I questioned every situation and every reaction before I gave it my energy. Is this worth my attention? Will it actually matter tomorrow? And 90% of the time, the answer is no. And the first thing I did was start to take control of my mornings, because that gave me control of the day. And you control the day, you control the year. And when you're in control, you have much better energy. And speaking of energy, we come to the second book, The Power of Full Engagement. Now, this book was recommended to me by a client of mine only recently. I'm using a dog bag as a bookmark. But the cover looks old, it doesn't look very enticing, looks like one of those books you'd skip past in a charity shop next to a second-hand battered Dan Brown novel or something. But inside it is a very different story. Because there are loads of hacks online about productivity and time management. Wake up early, work longer hours, get more done. And on paper, it kind of makes sense. But when you really think about it, time isn't your most valuable resource, your energy is. And the quote that landed the most out of this one was, "Train like an athlete. Stress, recover, repeat." Because top sprinters go all in for 10 seconds and then they rest. Elite fighters will train in bursts and then recover. Even Formula 1 cars take pit stops. But normal people treat themselves like machines, expecting to be switched on 24/7. It's no wonder we crash and burn. And when I really started to think about this, I realized I was working against myself. I wasn't taking any breaks and I wasn't managing my energy. So I made some changes. I stopped working in endless blocks and started working in sprints, fully focused and then taking a proper break. Then I built better routines, like the morning routine. Moving, eating proper food, that kind of thing. And that meant I was protecting my best energy. No more wasting peak hours on pointless shit. And guess what? I got more done in less time with less stress. Because when your energy's right, everything else becomes easier. And that means you can focus more. But now the question becomes, what should you focus on? Well, that's where the next book comes in. Essentialism by Greg McKeown. Banger. Most people don't struggle with a lack of ambition. They struggle with too much of it. And success isn't about doing more, it's actually about doing less of the wrong shit. And it's hard. I wanted to be everywhere, doing everything all at once. More ideas, more clients, more projects, more side hustles. But the point of essentialism is focus, singular focus. And focus isn't just about what you do, it's about what you eliminate. And we have calls with small business owners all the time who have 5 different offers, 5 different audiences, they're on all the different platforms, and it doesn't work. One clear goal, one clear offer, one audience, one price point, because you've only got so much energy and so much focus day to day. Let's say you wake up with 100 units of focus every single morning. If you focus on 5 different things, that's 20 units each. You'll make progress, but it'll be slow. But if you focus on one singular thing, that's 100% of focus, 100% of energy in one direction. And which one do you think gets you further faster? 20% progress in 5 directions or 100% progress in one? You know the answer. And this thought process has helped me simplify my business books, instead of selling a dozen different things, I focused on one killer offer and then got really good at selling it, which also meant I got really good at delivering it. So if you want to win, pick one thing, and go all in. Cut absolutely everything else. And the next book builds on this even further, because once you've cut all the distractions, you need to know how to position yourself as an expert. And that's where Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson comes in. And this is the only marketing book I'm going to talk about. Why? Because most marketing books are bollocks. They're boring as hell, and I've read tons. They harp on about branding and algorithms and sales psychology, all the stuff that sounds clever but doesn't actually help you sell. But this book is different, and Big Russ breaks it down like this. People don't buy products, they buy stories, relationships, and magic. And if you don't know how to position yourself as the expert, you'll always struggle to sell no matter how good you are. And the book itself made me realize something brutal. No one cared about my offer. No one. No one's waking up thinking, ooh, I really need to buy what Chris is selling today. People only buy for one reason. They believe you can get them from where they are now to where they want to be. That's it. And the only way they'll believe it is if you tell them a story that makes them believe it. So I applied this in 3 different ways. I started telling my own story, not just the wins, but the struggles, the failures, and the f-ups, because that's what people actually relate to. Number 2, I stopped trying to sell products and I just sold transformation. I sold the outcome. I painted a picture of what clients' lives and businesses would look like after working with us. And number 3, I built my audience by teaching. Russell Brunson says the more you teach, the more you sell. So I stopped holding back and I give away everything that I know pretty much for free. And guess what? The more I gave, the more people trusted me. And the more they trusted me, the easier it was to sell. Because most people think they need more credentials to be seen as an expert. Another qualification, another certification, another case study. But Russell Brunson flips that. You don't become the expert by waiting for permission. You become the expert by showing up, presenting what you know, and leading people to a solution, your solution. So if you feel like, I'm not quite ready to put myself out there yet, this book will shake the shit out of you. Because the truth is, the only difference between you and the people making money is that they stopped waiting and they started sharing. They position themselves as the go-to expert. Now I appreciate I've just said lots of sales and marketing books are shit. And it's true, most of them are packed with theory from people who haven't actually sold anything. But when you're in the early stages, when no one knows who you are, when you haven't got leads flowing in, when you're staring at your phone wondering where the f is the next client coming from, you don't need attraction marketing at all. You need to be relentless. And there's only one book I've found that goes really deep on this, and that is Fanatical Prospecting by Jeb Blount. And he says your pipeline is your lifeline. And if you don't fill it, you're starving your future self. And I see this everywhere. Most people fail in business because they simply don't speak to enough other people. Instead, they're overthinking their content strategy. They're tweaking their offer for the 100th time, or they're just sat there complaining that nobody's buying. All while ignoring the one thing that is guaranteed to make money: starting conversations. More conversations equals more opportunities, and more opportunities equals more sales. So I dialed in my old cold calling mindset and I started prospecting every single day. I have no attention, so I needed to get some. So I stopped taking rejection personally and started treating it like a numbers game. More DMs, more outreach, more follow-ups every single day. And I stopped waiting for people to come to me. For ages, I thought, oh, if my content's good enough, people will just show up magically. Bullshit. No one's waiting to throw money at you. You have to go and get it. So I started with a proactive approach, reaching out, building relationships, making connections. And guess what? Clients didn't just appear, my work made them appear. And I also made follow-up a non-negotiable. Jeb Blount says 80% of sales happen in the 5th follow-up, the 5th. But still, most people just give up after one message or one call and assume the other party's not interested. So I started following up like clockwork. Not in a spammy way, just making sure I was still on that person's radar. Now, to slow things down, here's a riddle. What's the difference between winning and losing? The answer? It's not that deep. Activity. Most businesses don't fail because they have a bad offer. They fail because they're not in enough conversations. And if you take one thing away from that book or this video, let it be this. You don't get paid to sit and wait. You get paid to make shit happen. And once you do it enough, you'll be prospecting relentlessly and you'll be getting leads coming in and clients coming through the door too, which is amazing until it gets boring. Because let's be real, prospecting and sending DMs or knocking on doors or cold calls or emails every single day isn't that exciting. And that's why most people quit too early. They want the quick wins, they expect instant results. And when they don't see them fast enough, they just say, this doesn't work. That's because they're not focused or aware of the compound effect. Another book by Darren Hardy. The little things that you do every single day matter more than the big things you do once. And at first, progress feels pretty slow. The first post you write, nobody cares. The first DM you send gets ignored. The first offer you put out, silence. But if you do it every single day without stopping, that's when it works. And in this book, Darren Hardy gives a couple of brilliant examples. If you eat a Big Mac every day, at first, nothing changes. But in a year, you've gained weight and your energy's shit. If you do 50 pushes a day, at first, nothing happens. But in a year, you're stronger and fitter and more disciplined than like 99% of people. And the same applies to business, money, and success. It's not one massive action that makes all the difference. So what I did after reading this book is I created a routine and I stuck to it, even when I didn't feel like it. Because everyone can show up when they're motivated, but the people who show up when they can't be arsed, they're the ones that win. Most people just quit too early, and that's why they never see results. They don't stick around long enough for the compound effect to actually kick in. And you'll probably have heard this quote before, but it's a banger. Most people underestimate what they can do in a decade, but overestimate what they can do within a year. And that's the reality. The big wins you want don't come from what you do occasionally, they come from what you do consistently. But what if you're consistently working on the wrong shit? But right now, behind me, framed, is my favorite quote ever. The main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing. And that quote is taken directly from the next book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And this book is massive, but I want to lean into that quote there because it's ridiculously easy to get distracted by shit that doesn't matter. Little tasks, random priorities, other people's problems. You start to tell yourself, oh, it's only 5 minutes, or I'll just do this first. And before you know it, the whole day's gone and you've done nothing. And the author, Stephen Covey, covers this perfectly. Most people spend their time in one of two zones. Zone 1 is crisis mode, where they're always dealing with urgent stuff. And zone 2 is doing busy work that feels productive but isn't. Neither of those things actually get you anywhere closer to your goals. But the real progress comes from the third mode, and that is spending time on what's important before it becomes urgent. Planning, big picture thinking, deep work that actually moves the needle forward. But because that work doesn't feel urgent, people ignore it. They run over there and start putting out fires when they need to be here and focused. Then 6 months later, they're wondering why they haven't made any progress. And that is why this quote is so powerful. If it doesn't align with your goal, it's not the main thing. If it's just keeping you busy, it's not the main thing. If it's someone else's priority, it's not the main thing. So now if you've made it this far, everything's working. You're dialed in, you're focused, you're working on the right things. But now there's a new problem. You're maxed out. Your calendar's full, your inbox is flooded, your to-do list looks like a fucking scroll from the medieval times. And suddenly you realize you are the bottleneck. You're stuck in your own success, and I've been there. And this is where most people will tap out. They grind, they hustle, they build momentum, and then they hit a wall. Because no matter how hard you work, you only ever have 24 hours in a day. Unless you can do this, buy back your time. And as the author Dan Martell says, if you're doing £10 an hour tasks, don't expect to make £1 million. And that hit me, because at the time, I was doing everything. Writing every email, checking in with every client, replying to every single message, booking in calls, chasing payments, sending invoices. I convinced myself that I had to do it all because it was quicker. I didn't trust anyone else to do it right, and I couldn't afford to hire anyone to help just yet. But this book flipped my thinking. You don't hire when you're successful, you hire so you can become successful. Because if you're spending your time on low-level shit, that's time you're not spending on high value activities. Dan Martell gives us a very, very simple rule. If someone else can do a task 80% as well as you can, outsource it. Hire a VA to do your admin. Hire an accountant or bookkeeper to do your invoices. Stop editing your own videos. Get an editor. Most people look at outsourcing as an expense, but in reality, it's an investment. If you free up 10 hours a week and use that time to focus on sales, marketing, and delivery, that investment pays for itself time and time again. Because most people think scaling a business means working harder, but scaling's really just getting out your own way. You're not supposed to be the one doing everything. You're supposed to be the one driving the business forward. And if you're constantly drowning in work, stretched thin, and struggling to juggle a million things at once, then this book will change your business. But before you go and buy any of these books, I want to give you the game changer. This is the book you need to go and buy first. And this book changed my fucking life. Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. I even feel like a gangster holding it. Because look, you can fix your habits, you can manage your time and energy, you can scale a business, but if deep down you don't truly believe that you deserve success, then you will find a way to fuck it all up. Now, Maxwell Maltz wasn't a business guru. He was a plastic surgeon. He spent years fixing people's faces, reshaping noses, removing scars, whatever. And he noticed something weird. Some patients had instant transformations. They wake up from surgery and be more confident, more assertive, and ready to take on the world. But for other patients, nothing changed. Even though their face had changed, they still saw themselves as unworthy and insecure. And that's when he realized it's not your external reality that holds you back, it's your internal self-image. How you see yourself literally dictates how much money you make, how much success you allow yourself to have, and whether you take action or self-sabotage. If you don't think you're worthy of success, you will f it up at every opportunity. If you believe that you're bad at selling, you'll avoid sales. If you see yourself as not the kind of person who makes money, then guess what? You won't make any. Because no matter how much external success you chase, you'll never outperform the identity that you hold of yourself. So when I read this book, I started paying attention to my own self-talk. Every time I caught myself saying, I'm not good at X or I can't do Y, I stopped and I asked myself, is this actually true? Or is it just a belief that I've repeated so many times in my head that I actually now believe it's real? Most of the time, it was just a story I've been telling myself. Because for years, I told myself I'm bad at reading or I don't like reading, and I never did it. Now, I've read the 9 books on this list and they've changed my life. Because your past doesn't define you. The story that you choose to believe does. And when you grasp this, you will start to rewrite how you see yourself. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, if you want to be confident in sales, if you want to be the kind of person that makes money easily, you have to start seeing yourself as that person now. Not later, not tomorrow, not on Monday, not when you hit that goal, now. Because once your self-image changes, everything else follows.